he and the guys who run this networking thing, they're not exactly like organizational savants. And so they'll send an email out saying where the location of the event, but they won't send the time or date. Then you get like 3 or 4 different follows up because somebody pings him and says, hey, what's the date of this thing? So he does that. And then I noticed that he's got the address wrong. Now, most people who go to this, they know where Carolina Cars is, but still the address was wrong. So I write him back and I say, hey, the address is wrong, da, da, da. He writes back and says, oh, I broke the tip of my finger, so I have not been typing well. Now, remember, I've been in a sling for 6 weeks. So I say to him, hey, if you're on a Mac, I can teach you some dictation and other things that make up for a hand. And he writes back, I hate Macs. Don't you mean thank you? Welcome to an all-new episode of Work in Progress with John Lane and Will Barfield. This podcast explores leadership traits under stress with a special guest each week. We use a simple and accurate OAD assessment to identify key personality traits or superpowers, as well as the shadow side, kryptonite traits that appear when we're under stress. As always, we'll have some pod banter, shameless plugging, and we'll even let our guests talk for a bit. Of course, no humble brags. Welcome to the show. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode, actually a very special episode. I'll tell you why in a second, of Work in Progress with John Lane and Will Barfield. Will, do you know why today's special?
Should I?
Well, we texted about it.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Today? It's your birthday.
Hey, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Aw, thank you guys. How
Here's
nice of you to
here's
remember.
fun trivia. Your birthday is exactly 1 week before mine.
Oh, well, thanks for stepping on my birthday with yours. You couldn't.
That's what I'm here
wait a
for.
week.
Trump card. But no, happy birthday, John.
Thank you.
Thanks to Amy, my wife, I remembered. She was like,
very sweet.
today's John's birthday.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes.
And your WIP Rewind episode will be on next week during your birthday week. How well did we sync that?
I'm sure that was an accident.
I'm sure it was an accident too. But I do have to point this out,
Really?
and it may be a shock to CJ, but when a guest comes on a podcast on the podcast host's birthday, she has to buy him dinner that night.
Oh.
Now, I don't make the rules.
You don't make the rules.
I don't make the rules. I'm just calling balls and strikes here.
Yeah.
So we can figure out a place after.
Yeah, we'll connect.
And Ready Whip is not on the menu.
Well, then I don't know where I'm taking you.
Okay. What else did I got? Oh, yeah, I'll do that later. Let's get into it. I was going to talk about my shoulder and my knee and stuff because I knew you were going to ask about that. Mm-hmm. But I will say a week from knee surgery and I'm walking. Very nice.
It's amazing how medicine has advanced.
Yeah, it is amazing. And it is amazing what kind of medical jobs program I became in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
I mean, these doctors' yachts aren't going to buy themselves.
No, they're not. But I'm glad you helped.
Thank you. I'm here to help. I'm John Lane.
I am Will Barfield.
And we are a work in progress. Hi, everybody. As always, we have a special guest. Will, how do we know she's a special guest?
Because she is a gift with Ready Whip.
True. I more or less go with because the slide says so. And slides don't lie.
Never, ever. There's never been a slide with anything false on it. At least not on this show.
Hi, CJ. Welcome. Hello. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm CJ. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a second command. I'm a mom. I'm a golfer. I'm a dog lover.
Nice.
Nice warm walks on the beach.
Oh boy.
I'm a business consultant and I focus primarily on clients that are in that like small to medium size, starting at year 3 and beyond, where they're hitting big growth spurts and stages. So I am a lover of all things chaos. I love to jump in, parachute in, and help these companies going through growth pains fix themselves quickly so they can get back on track.
Yeah, year 3 is chaos year. The first 2 years, you're just getting stuff together. If you get a meeting, you're excited. but now all of a sudden there's employees and all that comes with it. And I know it well.
That's right. I have a job because year 3 is a big pain in everyone's, you know what.
That is a very nice positioning too. I like it. Well, welcome to the show. We appreciate having you. We'll point out that you are a Who's Next nominee. It took a while to
Yes.
get you on, but thank you for being here with us. Thank you, Jeff, for the recommendation.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff Miller.
Jeff, I hate Max Miller. We'll bring that up later. All right. So, Will, where do we usually start?
So we usually start with this slide where we talk about how marvelous OAD is and how it is the secret that unlocks superpowers for us via the assessment tool.
That is excellent. And why do we like it?
And that, it's highly accurate, easy, easy to administer.
Time out. I lost my thingy. There it is.
Did you lose the mouse?
We only want to. Are you messing with me? It's my birthday.
Never.
All right. Keep going.
And it eliminates social desirability distortions as we move on, and it's built to the standards of leading international psychological institutions and rating agencies. So you can trust the data, and we absolutely do.
Yeah, nicely done. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this whole reading slide stuff.
Yeah, you're really. What are we on? Episode 58. You're really getting it.
Like a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this is where we begin every week. We talk about the OAD leadership style matrix. This is a nice, simple way for us to introduce a powerful and complex platform like OAD. There are 4 quadrants, 13 typical traits. We read it this way. So we look at generalists versus specialists. And then we look at socially oriented versus technically oriented. I am a socially oriented generalist. I'm in the builder quadrant, and I am a negotiator. Will is a
technically oriented generalist architect, and I'm a developer.
And CJ is yet another builder quadrant.
Shocking.
I know. We have lots of them, and we like them. We're good people. So thank you for being one of the crew. And so CJ is a builder negotiator, same as me. Our patterns are a little bit different, but Will, what do you think? You want to ask her something?
I think this is a new slide.
That's the other thing I wanted to say. Thank you. I'm using the newly designed slides that we use in our workshops in here. This is the first one to get in there. Thank you for noticing.
That's lovely. Yeah. No, you're
Does it
very
look
welcome.
good?
Catch John doing something good.
Beautiful.
Right? Thank you.
So here's your question, CJ. How does it feel to be reduced to a 2-dimensional data table?
Feels wonderful, actually. I love analytics, people analytics specifically. I can't tell you how many times I've give me all of your results. I don't care what test you've taken, and let me analyze those, and I'll determine if I think you're the right fit for the role we're playing. So this is one of my favorite things, actually. Okay. So I don't mind it at all.
Great. We like that. Well, let's just break down what makes you a builder negotiator. So as everybody knows, but bears repeating, we look at the relative traits of assertiveness, extroversion, patience, and detail orientation. We look at what's dominant, what's subordinate. Her 2 dominant traits are stacked up here, assertiveness and extroversion. We compare each of them to the D. So the A over the D makes her a generalist. The E over the D makes her more extroverted. That gets us in the upper right quadrant. Yep. And we got a lot of nice intensity in here. So this is a really, really clean read. So welcome, builder negotiator.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, these look good, John. I like them.
They look nice, don't they? They're all color-coded to the quadrants. Wow. Marley did these. Yeah.
You're extra. Good. Go, Marley. Thank you.
Go, Marley.
So, CJ, anyone who takes the OAD assessment and lands in the builder negotiator category is going to get these generic traits, superpowers. So I don't want to spend too much time here on this slide, but is there one of these that maybe stands out to you, resonates, feels really accurate, or that others have used to describe you? Is there something that pops here?
There are a lot, but I would say self-confident is one that pops.
So great selection there. And John, with that assertive extroversion,
Yes.
that is a dead-on match for me. How
Dead
about on
on.
this side with the kryptonite? One of these that you really feel is most accurate, or you want to grab onto there?
Well, let's just go with first bullet is 100%. Details are not my friend.
Yeah,
Nice.
that was a pretty strong trailing D there.
Yeah.
But it goes nicely with delegator.
Correct.
Right. There are some folks who are not really detail oriented, but they have a hard time delegating. That's a bad combination. This is a powerful combination. So
agreed.
I am a master delegator. I believe the phrase is delegate to elevate, right?
We do it again. Delegate what?
Delegate to elevate.
He's writing that down. He's going to try to claim that. Are you going to try to copyright that too?
Yes.
I think EOS or Gino Wickman already did, but good luck.
Oh, shit. I was comfortable plagiarizing, but you come on our show and plagiarize? That's terrible.
I didn't plagiarize. I just gave copyright. I gave citations and all. We're good.
All right. I'll
she
put
did actually. It's like her bibliography.
I know.
If you remember those from high school.
I'm just disappointed that I can't steal it for myself. I mean, I can use it, but I can't steal it. Great. Well, awesome. Let's get into some of the juicy bits that you provided us.
Yeah. So after you took the assessment, and then you kind of in the pre-show, you did your homework with John, and these are the things that you bulleted. I know John has compressed them a little bit, but let's talk through these things you isolated here about superpowers and how they relate to you, and how they relate to the work that you do right now.
Sure. Want me to just dive in?
Yeah, just go.
Yeah,
okay.
We don't do any work around here.
Come on, high A, be assertive.
Okay. So, I mean, my background, everywhere I've worked has always been with a startup, right? Except for this 1.5 year that was really super boring. So let's caveat it a little bit with that. So high A is I'm very take charge kind of person. Someone has to be just making decisions. Someone has to drive the team forward. Someone has to move the needle. And so I've never been afraid to be that person. And I guess I've been lucky enough that I've been put in positions where I could be that. As a super generalist, I mean, I think my trailing D says it all. I'm a risk taker. I'm a calculated risk taker, but I'm a risk taker. And if I think it is something that could be very viable, I'm going to push a team forward to do it, try it, and not try it in the sense of like, let's just A/B test and see what happens, but try it in the sense of if we've considered it enough, done our homework enough, and it is a viable path forward, let's take that path, because the risk is likely greater than the reward. We all have a little bit of road rash, but I pride myself on I have very little road rash from decision making. Conceptual vision setter. I mean, I have a tattoo that says "What if." I love that 50,000 foot type of thinking. I love working with visionaries and sitting there at 50,000 feet, pondering the what if, pondering what's next, what the future might be. What is the next big thing? And so I'm typically sitting at that level with them and then helping bring some strategy and focus around that. So, and it's one of my favorite places to sit. So that's what I mean by the very conceptual vision. Yeah. And relationships matter. I mean, that's from day one. I'll steal something out. Return on relationship, I think, is something that I learned from another person much older and wiser than I am, that taught me the benefits of building relationships, not just networking, but really building relationships. And when it comes to my clients, they need to trust me. They need to trust me explicitly. Building that right relationship where there is mutual respect and there's mutual social equity happening between the two. It's give and get on both sides is really important. Same with my teams, same with, just individuals within my professional networks. Those relationships at the end of the day matter. So everywhere that I go, I'm looking for who's that next person I'm going to build a relationship with, and a real one. That's why, John, you've been to the event, one of the events that I go to. I that group because it's not how many business cards can I grab at the end of the day. It's really about getting to know people and seeing what you could do to help them. And the hope is in exchange, they'll support you when the time comes and when
it's a good group.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Before we leave the slide, you mentioned primarily startup related career.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that you intentionally pursued those kinds of companies? Was it just happenstance because of where you were working and who you knew, and that's just kind of how the career evolves, as a combination of the two? Why were you always running towards the fire?
But running towards the fire allowed me to play in that visionary role, right? So you have visionaries that come up with these ideas and concepts, and when you get on the ground floor with those startups and you're like employee number 3, number 4, number 5, you become a pivotal part of building the companies. So I have co-founded an award-winning company, and that was fun. But after my first taste and the first 2 agencies I worked with being startups, and me being employee like number 3 in the first one, employee number 7 in the second one, that's also where I learned that relationship piece. There was a time I went to our COO, and this was working with a social media marketing agency at the time, where I could see clearly what the next big thing was going to be. And I brought that to my COO and said, I want to pursue this for the company. I want to build these services out for the company. And she laughed in my face at first. So let's point that out. But after she laughed in my face, she said, okay, CJ, you could spend 50% of your time doing that. 50% you have to still service your clients in your current capacity. 50% go build the service and let's see what happens. And a year later, I had 2 teams, one in Michigan, one here in North Carolina, that I was managing because I could see those opportunities. And that just gave me this taste for, they call me the entrepreneur then, because that was something that was entrepreneurial, that didn't want to put the financial risk in it. Someone else could financially back the ideas. So it gave me that ability to be able to build while being someone else's employee, not yet being old enough and wise enough, in my opinion, to do my own thing. I loved it.
Well, things get hard. Working in a startup can be stressful. There are challenges. Our superpowers, when we're under pressure, can convert to kryptonite, be weaknesses. Talk us through this slide, if you will, and kind of your recognition of your own kryptonite.
Yeah, again, that trailing D says a lot about details. Actually, John, nice it up. What's the word I'm looking for here, John? You saw the blow with that first bullet, because I believe what I said, my kryptonite was follow through. What follow through? That's just not my strength. Now, I've served in the COO role and second command role, so details I have had to learn. That is a learned skill, but I will inevitably forget something, make some simple mistake that to others seems monumental when it's the COO, right? The person that's supposed to be detail oriented. So I learned a long time ago that in that capacity, I still had to find my detail partner. So even when I was serving as that second command, I found that detail person internally that I could go to and say, okay, here's the problem. Here's the solution. I think it looks something like this. Let's talk about it later. But then I didn't have to actually execute. I'd come back from the next meeting and she'd say like this. My brain would have sat there thinking about that solution, knowing the solution, and never putting pen to paper for 2 weeks, because having to sit down and actually then go through those details it's just not where I play best. I guess until my back is against the wall. And it's the little nuanced details that are important when someone like me is always on the go, that we don't stop and think about the little details that other people actually care about greatly. So it could be a big kryptonite for me. Luckily, I learned that I have to have someone that I'm always partnered up with to manage through that. Decision making. This is more of analysis paralysis is my kryptonite. There are obviously, from the different quadrants, there are certain people who are high fact finders and high follow through, and those tend to want to consider every potential scenario, every potential consequence, and develop a solution before they start. That is like nails on a chalkboard to me. I can't stand it. I feel my heart pumping, the anxiety is getting higher. Once the path is clear, I may not know completely what's down that path, but if I know that's a good path, I want to go. and I want to figure out what to do about any hurdles that come in my way. But just imagine what that does to someone who is a high detail person, who actually cares. That's like nails on a chalkboard to them. The fact that I would dare to jump down that path without figuring out every detail is going to be just as painful to them as it is to me to sit and wait.
And that's where some of our consulting work comes in around this, because we teach, I mean, people tend to know each other organically, but we put words and phrases and structure to that. So we would be able to explain to your team why you go this way. And it's not because you're disregarding them. It's because you think time is the most important factor. And then they can tell you, well, we can come along, but if you want our help, we need time to consider A, B, or C. So you're meeting everybody where they are. And I think that tends to like clear up conflicts so the team can, experience accelerated success. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the key too, right? Self-awareness is one big key. I fully own my kryptonites. I've known these things about myself for a long time, and I can't hide them. Like there's a joke around my house here. Like if I mess something up, my husband will actually say to my son, "It's just your mom's low D." Like we all know I have low detail. It just is a thing. That's why I married him. He's the detail person.
Will and I have one. I get anxious, and he says, "Oh, that's just low P, low patience."
Low patience.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the other thing too is because I'm such a quick, I move so quickly that when I make this, I'm very decisive too, right? Most people don't know that my brain is moving just as quickly as my feet, and that I probably thought about a lot of potential issues driving home. So to the people who see me move quickly, to people who see me jump down good paths without knowing every possible consequence, for me to become decisive is also scary for them. And I have to navigate that because they'll think that it wasn't calculated, but I'm actually very calculated in my decision making. So it's more of a battle of me learning to be more patient and pausing and taking the time to understand where their greatest concerns are and where we can meet in the middle on how I can get them to that place of comfort, how I could de-risk some of it for them, give them whatever they need to feel comfortable with it so that we can move forward, but also knowing sometimes I just have to slow down. And then rules, what I actually put in this, in my email to John, honestly, when it comes to rules, if you want to motivate me, tell me no. Tell me I can't do something. Dare you tell me I can't do something? Like the biggest form of motivation for me is to tell me I can't or tell me no. And so, and it's always been that way with me. I'm not a huge rule breaker. I want to say my dad said it best when he said, I'm like the gray sheep of the family. Rules exist because of me, but I like to, walk up to the fence, see how far I could push it before it breaks. And the moment I start hearing it crack is the moment I stop. But I'm going to push it every time. So it's kind of a balance of I'm not going to just go off and break the rules, but I got to know how far you could go with it. And truly, like my son did this to me to get me on a snowboard this week. I told him, I don't think we should snowboard. I spent the whole time falling last year. I'm old, things break. And he said, sounds like a quitter to me, Mom, and you're not a quitter. And I just looked at him and said, crap. All right, let's do it. He looked at my husband and said, and that's how you motivate my mom, because it's true. Tell me I can't, challenge me in any way. And
they're working the refs on you. They are working.
This is like the part of me that's so innate. I just, my second grade teacher called me wild child. Every teacher until 7th grade then proceeded to call me wild child. It just is what it is.
Well, we have the name of our episode. Wild child.
So you mentioned earlier, your love for data and analysis and these assessments and studying, understanding people, finding right fit and right situation. So you're no stranger to this. You've done it before, but this has been the one you've done most recently. And I'm sure it was a beneficial exercise in kind of reviewing strengths and reviewing weaknesses. You went through the pre-show, been on the pod with us today. How do you take this review of CJ and apply the things that you studied again and that we talked about today, strengths and weaknesses, superpowers, kryptonite, and apply it to everything that's going on with you professionally right now? How do you go and grow?
Sure. So I'll start with what I have done. So one of the very first things I did about 4 months ago, when I realized there was no way for me to grow and I was getting frustrated being pulled back into the weeds with clients, but my clients need someone to execute for them, I immediately went and found that partner. So I hired Mel. Mel is amazing. If I had to guess, just with other assessments she's done, I would say she probably actually is probably a close match to Will in some way, in that generalist architect field. She and I partner so well together because she loves the execution, but she could also follow the crazy, like, what if, pinging back and forth ideas. So finding that partner was game changer, able to triple number of clients, still have room to grow. Like, she's still bored. I'm just trying to use my power of persuasion to go get more clients so that I can make sure she stays around. Because if I lost her, that would be a disaster. So that was the smartest thing I've done thus far. I think the other one that I just have to keep, like, this being the most recent one, but it's not the first one, to remind me that I'm impatient. When I see the solution, I just want to go. And I have to constantly remind myself, and will continue to work on, hopefully one day maybe come close to perfecting, that ability to slow down and remember that the things that cause me the greatest grief or anxiety or frustration, the opposite, like my actions could do the opposite or do that very same thing to someone that's the opposite of me. So I have to learn to maintain that balance of patience. And I have to make sure I'm genuinely looking for that middle ground of, we need to go, but we need to pause long enough to get people comfortable. And it could be hard. You could think that you're being patient and slowing down, but there's thinking and there's pretending, there's going through the steps of, and there's actually doing. I think I'm still going through the steps of to learn to actually be better at being patient.
Yeah. And I just find with that low P myself that it feels like an itch I need to scratch, but then when you scratch it, it almost never turns out right. So finding the patience, letting the ball come to you a little bit, definitely pays off. It's not easy, but it pays off.
Yeah, John and I were on a call together recently, and I've been with him a long time, and I could tell he was doing his low P dance, where and he was trying to wrestle control the call and move to close, right? Like he was all done, and the other person could have, kept going. 30 minutes later, we would still been in the same loop, and that person would have been happy as a clam, and John he would just have left. So
I haven't learned to talk Southern yet, and just know this was a good old Southern gentleman, and we invited him on the call, and he said in 30 minutes what he could have said in 5. And that happens.
So, I know the feeling.
Yeah, good dude though, and he helped us. So you kind of bite your tongue and you accept the help where it comes. CJ, we're almost to the end. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm watching the clock. When is this over?
Just checking our watch. Well, Will, you always do this. You should do this.
You've been through this with us now, CJ. Is there someone in your network, someone you know professionally? You don't have to be local. They can be anywhere.
Even outside of North Carolina?
Yeah. What? Yes. Even outside North Carolina. That you would think would enjoy this exercise with us, is willing to admit their weaknesses and be vulnerable. Who's next in your mind? Anybody you know?
Yes. Bill Harper. Bill Harper is the last CEO that I served as second in command for. I was his second in command for 5 years, and I have been dying to know. I need to know his analytics. Like, you have to also share them with me. If not, I'll call him and make him give it to me. But he is an open book. He is transparent. So I'll go ahead and say it. We used to call him Wrecking Bill. And I think someone also came up with Hurricane Harper at some point with him.
Nice.
They used to say, put CJ and Bill in a conference room together. You might find yourself hiding underneath the conference room table. Like, he's just, you guys will enjoy having him on, but also he's got a brilliant mind. So I would recommend.
Wait, I will follow up with you after the show and tell you how how we make that process work. But that's a great recommendation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Bill's a great dude. He's a client of mine. I've done some work for him. I
Very
like
nice.
Bill a lot. WM Harper is the agency.
Great.
WM Harper, and also Brand Boss HQ.
Awesome. I am John Lane.
I am Will Barfield.
And we are
a work in progress.
CJ, thank you.
You're
Bye,
Great having you on.
Hi, Bill.
Hi, Bill. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Work in Progress is a podcast presentation of Slipshod Productions. Available on LinkedIn and YouTube. Executive produced and starring John Lane and Will Barfield. Talent booking, production, and editing by John Lane. Thanks for watching. See you next week.